Over 100 years ago, hopeful miners from all over the world made their way to the Wichita Mountains in hopes of striking it rich. After the 1867 Medicine Lodge Treaty, much of southwestern Oklahoma was set aside for the Plains Indian tribes, with supposed regulation that would forbid white intruders. Despite the Spanish mining efforts of prior centuries, the Wichitas were off limits for mining operations. By the early 1900s, a gold rush exploded in the Wichita Mountains. In this video, we are going to take a look at how all of this transpired. Most of this info was gathered from Steve Wilson's Oklahoma Treasures and Treasure Tales. Now, if you haven't checked out that book, go get a copy. Without his hard work and investigation on these topics, this video wouldn't exist. First off, let's go back 400 years. In 1611, a Spanish Catholic priest by the name of Juan de Salas established a mission among the Plains Indians near what is known today as Devil's Canyon. A historic trail known as the Great Spanish Road passed along the east side of the North Fork of the Red River at the mouth of Devil's Canyon. Quite a few mining relics were found over the years, including mining tools, mine shafts, and various pieces of smelters. I have a full video that covers Devil's Canyon, and I'll be sure to put the link in the description of this video. In 1650, Spanish miners with Diego Castillo explored the Wichitas as part of his search for gold and silver that was rumored to be in these locations. We will never know the true extent of Spanish and Mexican mining operations here, but it is theorized that most mining operations were abandoned due to the hostility of the Indians protecting and defending their homelands. In 1849, a company of men with pack mules and horses carrying weapons and provisions were spotted near the Wichita Mountains looking to mine gold. In 1852, Captain Randolph Marcy led what is known as the first official expedition to explore the Wichita Mountains in his search for the headwaters of the Red River. He predicted that this region would eventually become a productive mining district. By 1866, a man by the name of George Ison staked his claim in an area known today as Charon's Garden. A year later, he did return and begin to mine despite Indians camping all around him. It was widely known at that time anyone traversing solo in the area had a pretty high chance of being scalped or killed. The many bodies that were found over the years seem to back up this claim. Outlaws also traveled through this region, as it is believed George Ison met the James brothers on a couple of occasions, even allowing them to hide their loot on his claim. In 1868, due to the ongoing Red River Wars with Plains Indians, Camp Wichita was set up. In 1869, the camp would become Fort Sill. In 1886, the earliest mine known to historians, well, other than those made by Spanish miners in centuries prior, was located 12 miles south of what today is known as Granite. By 1893, mining started in the Navajo Mountains just east of modern-day Altus. Around 1900, U.S. troops were constantly breaking up mining operations in the Wichita Mountains, as this was forbidden Indian land and it was highly illegal for men to stake claims. They raided a mining camp near Otter Creek and destroyed everything. Now, Indian police nor Fort Sill Cavalry could fully patrol the 60-mile by 20-mile Wichitas continuously. Also in 1900, the Gold Bell Mine and Milling Company was illegally formed by Frank Wildman and Elisha Williams. These lands still weren't open to settlement at this time. A 50-ton cyanide mill was erected near present-day Tom Steed Lake to process gold ore. Today you can still see remnants, including the cooling tower and concrete foundation. So the big difference with this mining area is that they use cyanide here. The cyanide is a chemical that they would use to help extract gold from some of the ground that they dug up and what have you. So that's really what this was for. Cooling tank right there. And then of course this is where the rest of the plant actually was. Once upon a time, big metal building. Seen in this picture here. No ore was ever processed, and the owners even planted gold fragments when it came time to sell it. 1901 is when the true Oklahoma gold rush started. President McKinley signed the proclamation that opened the Kiowa, Comanche, Apache, and Wichita reservations for settlement. Portions were set aside for tribal allotments, cattle grazing, Fort Sill, and the Wichita Forest Reserve, consisting of over 57,120 acres. Thousands of prospectors set a course for the Wichita Mountains to search for gold, silver, lead, platinum, and zircons. The mining camps of Wildman, Oriana, Mears, Doris, Camp Homestead, and Golden Pass sprang up seemingly overnight. Between 1901 and 1915, 6 smelters were constructed in the Wichita Mountains. The first was G.W. and Silas Ison smelter at the foot of Granite Mountain in Charon's Garden. Silas also set up smaller ones near his mines. The second one was built by Sam Reamer, southwest of Mount Sheridan at the Snake Lode Mine. The next one was set up on the opposite side of Mount Sheridan at Camp Mears. The fourth one belonged to John Pearson and was completed in 1905 at Camp Homestead, located at the foot of Mount Sherman on what is now Fort Sill property. Just a few miles to the west of Camp Homestead is where another smelter was constructed, this one by Ollie Wells in the now defunct mining camp of Golden Pass. Finally, the last one was located in Fawn Creek Canyon at the Copper Eagle Mine. T.E. Cook built the smelter, and the mining operations were run by the Bonanza Mining Company. So we're kind of on the outskirts of the Copper Eagle Mine. Kellen just found remnants of a shovel. Could be from the mining days, it could be from, since, who knows, but pretty neat find. So this mine was fully in operation from 1904 to 1906. Kellen, tell them how deep this was at one time.
This was 125 feet at one time.
I'm sure it's been filled in somewhat. Obviously, I've never seen it without water in it. I really don't know how deep it still is. I doubt it's 125 feet still. This was quite the operation. They had most of the Copper Eagle mining camp was set up down here, and they had their little tram beltway set up that was going down that direction. If you take a look at this picture right here, you can kind of see this was the camp in its heyday. That picture was probably taken from that area over there looking back this way. So this right here is probably where the main Copper Eagle camp was at. From the picture you see right here, it's pretty flat in this area. In 1902, silver was discovered at the Hale Copper Mine just to the west of the Forest Reserve. The Pearson Mining Company was located in the Camp Doris district, which is now covered by the waters of Lake Quannaparker. Other notable mines in the area include Buckhorn Copper Mine, north of Mount Scott, and then a few in the Mears Mining District. Those include the Lost Lead Mine, the Three Boys Mine, and the Hardin Copper Mines.
We have parked at the parallel forest. We're going to go look at the Hardin Copper Mines.
Alright, so we're trying to get to the northernmost Hardin Copper Mine, and the perimeter fence is actually in a different place than what it shows on the maps here. So it's in this area. You can see some, looks like possible foundations, maybe for cabins or something back in the day, or maybe mining camp buildings. But one of the mines is in this area. But this is the perimeter fence, so we're not gonna be able to see this one. All right, so this is the area of the South Hardin Copper Mine. There's a lot of tailings around and stuff. We haven't found any defined holes yet. We're looking, but a lot of tailings. So this looks like the area where it was.
This is where the main shaft was, you can tell, because there's a hole and there's tailings all over the place.
Also in 1902, the Mears mining camp was forced outside the Wichita Forest Reserve. Despite the fact that mining was allowed inside the reserve at the time, towns weren't able to exist within its boundaries. Over 5,000 prospectors staked claims across the Wichita Mountains, and it is believed over 20,000 people were involved in the search for gold. In totality, it is believed over 165,000 people converged in this area, forever changing the landscape. Now, today you can still see various mine shafts. Some have been filled back in with dirt and rock, and some appear to still be quite deep, filled with water. In 1907, the territory of Oklahoma was joined with the Indian Territory and became the state of Oklahoma. The Wichita Forest Reserve became the Wichita National Forest. With this, mining operations ceased within the boundaries of the new national forest, with the exception of Silas Ison's mining operations. The Hattie Green Mine, Bennett Copper Mine, and a few others closed down for good. Now, by this point, majority of mining camps had already ceased operations. Mears was relegated to what remains today, the store which morphed into the restaurant. Most caves that are found in the Wichita Mountains are actually rock rooms formed via rock slides, or actual mines. Some of the more notable ones are known as Bear Cave, Wapiti Cave, Spanish Cave, Doom Cave, and Pennington Mine. There are also 3 arrastras that can be found in the Wichita Mountains. The arrastra itself is a technology known to be heavily used by the Spanish in centuries earlier. The arrastras that exist in the Wichitas today were constructed around the early 1900s. The Cedar Creek arrastra was built by Dutch Bill in 1901.
This is one of 3 arrastras. There's one over by Panther Creek, there's one just north of Mount Sheridan, and this one was reconstructed.
So do you know how they use these arrastras for gold mining?
No.
So they would put rock and dirt and stuff on the outer part, and they'd have mules and stuff that would walk around it and crush it, and that's how they'd get the gold out. A second arrastra is located near Panther Creek, and the third one was built by Sam Reamer and is located near Mount Sheridan along Medicine Creek. In 1933, George Ison died. In 1936, the Wichita National Forest became the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. In 1941, the Declaration of Taking Act allowed Fort Sill to acquire more land, which engulfed the Ketch Ranch, Camp Homestead, and Golden Pass. Mining operations at both Golden Pass and Camp Homestead had slowed to a halt in decades earlier. So this is the Pearson mine shaft. Now, I've never seen it with this much water in it. If the water goes down, you can actually see pretty far back in there. The Pearson smelter was opened in September of 1905 after 9 months of construction at a cost of $10,000. The brick walls were over 20 feet high and included a steam traction engine. This smelter could be seen from many miles away. By 1942, after years of legal battles, the government decided to grant Silas Ison the right to remain on his land within the boundaries of the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. In 1957, the government carried out yet another land grab, and Fort Sill expanded further west, engulfing Craterville Park and the area south of the refuge where Quanah Parker's Star House once stood. Craterville Park is known mostly for its past as an amusement park, but it was also a mining camp in its early days. In 1972, the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge sent a letter to Silas Ison stating that he had 60 days to remove all personal property from the cabin. Silas was stationed at Fort Sill and refused the eviction order. Unfortunately, he was sent to Korea for TDY, and while he was gone, the cabin was bulldozed. With it went decades and decades of Wichita Mountain mining history. All right, I think I might have located what is the foundation of the old cabin. I can see concrete along here. Definitely looks man-made. Trails off along here. Right here again. It's forming a rectangle. There's more here. I'm willing to bet this might be where it was at. Besides the cabin foundation, you can still see the remnants of the 13 mine shafts, the stone walkway, and the hand-built rock dam. I was lucky enough to catch the area after a big rain as the dam turned into a huge waterfall. It was pretty impressive. In conclusion, is there gold in the Wichita Mountains? Yeah, there appears to be a little bit, but it doesn't look like enough was ever recovered for operations to be worth the time or the money. Just imagine what the landscape would have looked like if loads of gold was actually found. Anyway, thanks for joining us on this adventure. Please like this video, shoot us some comments below, and subscribe. We will keep the stories coming in the meantime.